everybody, this is Jessica from Truth at Home. I haven't made a video for a while, and I'm going to be explaining why right here. I have a lot to tell you, and I'm going to try to squish it into as little time as possible. I'm so thankful for all those who have subscribed so far, and I'm also thankful for you new viewers who are watching this video. I'm hoping that this video will be a bridging all the videos that came before this to all the new videos that I plan on making after this. And I'm really excited for the fresh, I don't want to call it a completely new direction, but it's a fresh, direction that this YouTube channel is going to take. And I'll get to that in a minute. But before we can get to the bright part of this video, I'm going to have to take you to the dark part of my story first. So we'll go from dark and then we'll end up at the bright side. We'll end up with the happy stuff. So the reason I haven't been making many videos or writing many blog posts is because I've been going through a very dark time. And I'll explain why in a moment. This dark time has kind of covered the past year and a half, maybe 2 years or so. I think there was some things leading up to this dark time, even before that. But I would say that the past year and a half have been the most difficult, at least recently, in my life. I had many years ago, I went through a very dark time. And I was hoping that wouldn't happen again. But recently, I went through another very dark time in my life because of some other things. And it isn't anything that I chose for myself. I didn't want it to be like this. There were just things that happened. And that all just seemed to come together all at the same time. And they were like one thing on top of the other that made it feel so heavy for me. Like I just couldn't take it. Okay? And I don't know. Maybe there are some of you who will be able to relate to what I'm about to share. I'm pretty sure that especially those of you women who are in your middle stage of life and who have children who have graduated from homeschool and who have left your home, you'll probably be able to relate to the things I'm about to share. So there were some factors that contributed to this dark time in my life that made it feel so heavy to me. One of those was graduating our oldest homeschooler. There is so much that I am so proud of. I do not in any way think that it was a total failure. And we put so much effort into our oldest son, and we are still continuing to put effort into his life and the lives of all our other children who are so precious to us. But honestly, there were certain things that we had been hoping that would happen, that at least for now have turned out to be different than what we expected. And I think that part of it was our fault because, we're humans, we make mistakes. Probably we could have done some things better, and we're learning. And part of it is just that people aren't robots that you program. People make choices. And some of those choices are the right choices, and some of those choices are sinful choices. And I make choices every day, and I love God. But some of my choices, even every day, are sinful choices. Like when I choose not to be patient with somebody and I yell at them. That's a wrong choice, but I chose it. Even though I love God. Anyway, so I've noticed that some women who graduate their first homeschooler and it didn't turn out the way they thought it would, some people just give up and they just throw in the towel. They get so discouraged that they say, it's not even worth it. Why am I doing this? And they give up. And that's not me. I think God has enabled me to be strong, and my husband too, and to have faith in order to get us through this time so that we haven't given up. But simply say, you know what, God, you have this in your hands. Just because something disappointing happens with one Doesn't mean it's going to be like that with all of them. On the other hand, though, because we're imperfect humans, we're always going to be disappointing each other. And that's just part of life. And we have to work through those things. And this is a lesson in working through things. Anyway, so that was a very hard thing that happened that I had to work through. But at the same time, I was also having problems with multiple family members. Some of those problems were within our nuclear family unit, and some of those problems were with family outside of our nuclear family unit. And these things were things I didn't know how to deal with. I wasn't choosing these situations. I might have been partly to blame for some of the things, but not fully to blame. Part of it probably was me. Part of it was the other people. And these things had to be worked through, but they were very depressing to me. Very heartbreaking to me. And I can't go into detail about what those things were because they're private. And I don't want to reveal things about these other people's lives that they wouldn't want me to share. But all I can tell you is that they were heartbreaking to me. Very, very painful and difficult. And thank God that He has allowed us to have healing, at least partially, in some of these relationships. But there's still farther to go. And I have hope that God will bring further healing. And yes. So another thing that's been happening is just that I have been feeling old. Like I'm 40 years old and I'm not really old, right? But I'm not that young person that I used to be anymore. You know, I don't have that young, fit, slender body that I used to have. I have wrinkles now. Maybe you can't see them in the video because it's not super clear. But if you could see me in real life face to face, you'd be able to see that I have a few wrinkles. I have more gray hair than I used to before. And I don't have the energy that I used to have. And I have a lot of demands on my energy and my time. And not very much time to do things that I want to do. And not much time to spend on me. And that contributes to me feeling worn out and old, you know? And I think that's been part of this whole situation that's contributed, you know, problems with your children, problems with your family, feeling old, having so many demands on your time, not being able to give everything you wish you could, not being able to take care of yourself the way you feel like you need to. I mean, all of it just comes together. And there's other things that I could mention too, you know. I don't want to get extensive here, but just things in my life that made me feel trapped. Just trapped. That made me feel hopeless, even though I had my hope in God, but I had those moments where I felt hopeless. Unvalued by those around me, like I'm doing all this work for everybody. I'm giving my whole heart, you know, I'm putting my whole heart into this. And just feeling like nobody cares. I mean, I'm not saying that that's true, but during this time in my life, that's how I felt. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a care, you know? Feeling like everything that I had been working on, putting my whole effort and heart into, hadn't turned out well. At least that's how it felt to me. Made me feel not inspired, thinking, what do I have to offer? I have nothing to offer, nothing good to offer. Nobody cares about what I have to say. Nobody cares about me. I'm just a freak, you know? Those problems with my family members especially caused me to feel that way. I'm just a freak. Nobody appreciates me, values me, understands me. I mean, what am I even here for? Is how I felt. Maybe if I wasn't here anymore, nobody would care. And they'd actually even be happier because I wouldn't be here screwing up their lives, screwing up their lives according to them. It was very, very dark. I felt very ugly. I felt less than. And I think that's all I want to tell you now. but I'm sure that you can think about something in your own life that is similar to what I've gone through. And you can say, yes, I've been through that. I know what that's like. Because we all go through difficult times in our lives. So I was going through this dark time and I was praying, God, help me. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to get out of this. I just know that I need you. And you are here and you're faithful. Please show me your faithful hand. Get me through this because I don't know the way. It's like the psalm that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I clung to that psalm, and I still do. And I believe that gradually God has been guiding me out of this valley of death, valley of the shadow of death, and into a more open, wide space where I can breathe and I can look down on where I used to be and say, wow, look at how far God has taken me from that. Maybe I'm not all the way out of the valley yet, but I have come enough out of it to where I have more perspective. And I'm feeling the fresh air. Isn't that a great place to be? Some of the things that God has used to get me out of that valley, I'm going to explain to you now. We have come to a new church. I had been praying for many, many years for a church like this, just like this. But I had been praying for years and years, you guys. And I have been praying, God, you are going to have to bring this to us. Because I don't have the time. I don't have the chance to just go, and I don't even want to go from church to church looking for the perfect church, the just right church. No, this is where we're at right now. And this church, if it even exists, that I would love to go to, you need to bring it to us. And you guys, I am telling you that he did that very thing. About a year ago, a little more than a year ago, he did that very thing. I am so amazed at how God just brought it all together and answered that prayer of many years that I had literally wept over. I felt so stuck at where we were. I didn't know how to change it or get out of it. I knew that, I knew we didn't want to be the kind of family that just goes from church to church. I had to be loyal to where we were at that time. But at the same time, I felt like such a freak. And let's go back to how I was feeling at this time in my life, right? I was feeling unappreciated, unvalued, and I felt that same way at our church. Like, nobody even knows I'm here. Nobody even cares about me. That's how I felt. I don't know if that's true, but that's how I felt about it. And I felt I want to go someplace where people understand me and appreciate me and think I'm important, where I don't feel invisible and maybe even worse than that, like a freak. If somebody does notice me, they look at me and think, oh, what a freak, how weird she is. I've been dealing with that for many years, dealing with that feeling at least. And I don't want to discourage you if you're in a place like that, thinking, oh, what a horrible place to be, because God used it in my life. I feel like it made me stronger in some ways. And yet at the same time, it's not really where I wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? But at the right time, God brought us to the right place. And I'm so thankful for that. And it's a supportive environment. Homeschooling families, some of them have larger families, conservative thinking, conservative, biblically consistent theology, head covering women. Modesty is important at this church. And it's so close knit. There's such a close knit fellowship there, and that's exactly what I wanted, and have been praying for. And not only that, but somebody from this church actually offered to help me in any way I needed with our family. Nobody had ever offered to give me help like this. Okay. And I understand it's probably because most of the time people just can't. They're so busy with their own lives and their own, commitments to their own families that they're not even able. And I understand that. But I have been praying, God, if you could send me somebody who could help me with some things, because I'm feeling overwhelmed and I know that I'm doing your will, Lord. And these children are precious. I do not regret a single one. I know this is your will for us. I thank you for each and every one of these children, and I know you have a purpose for their lives. But God, there are times when I feel overwhelmed and I need some help. I feel like I need some help. Please send somebody. And this lady, she offered to give her help. And I am amazed at how God answered my prayer. And for the past few months that she's been helping us, I feel like it's really helped to change things for the better. I've read a book called Shepherding a Child's Heart and another book called Don't Make Me Count to 3 by Ginger Hubbard. The first one is by, Ted Tripp. And the second one is by Ginger Hubbard. And these books have really been amazing, and they have helped me a lot in my parenting. I mean, some of these things I knew already before, but it's like you need to be reminded, right? And some of these things I didn't know as well before, and it was really, really good to just have it all laid out before me so clearly. And I feel like this has really helped to reform my parenting and my husband's parenting so that we can, in whatever ways that we made mistakes before, we can do better now. Parenting is always a process where you're improving, and we're continuing to improve with God's help. My husband has been more helpful with the children and with the home, everything that's involved in that. After I shared some really, some of my darker thoughts with him, it really opened his eyes, I think, up to the fact that he needed to help me more. And I think that was also a turning factor. And then since then, we've been reading books together and watching videos together about having a healthy marriage and parenting. And I feel that this has really brought us together and helped us. We're not like, we haven't learned everything there is to learn yet, right? We're not perfect. We're still growing and learning, but we are going someplace. We're not where we used to be. And I'm so thankful for that. And there's been some other things too. Let me see here. Some things that have happened recently have made me realize that, even though I am getting older, I can still be beautiful. I can grow old graciously and in a dignified way. And yes, I have to accept my changed body, and I have to accept the gray hairs and the wrinkles that comes with growing older. But I can still be beautiful. I can still be somebody that gives value to other people's lives. And just realizing this, even though I knew it, right? But there's just some things that up here that you have to know down here. And it went from here to here. God enabled it to be able to travel to my heart so that I can know it in my heart too and have confidence. I can be beautiful. I can still give things of value to others. My life isn't over yet. My efforts aren't in vain. God is going to use everything, and He has more plans for me. He has more for me to do. Sure, there's things that don't turn out the way you thought they were going to. Yes, that happens in life. Discouragements happen, but it's not over. So there's some important points that I'd like to share with you about my journey that maybe will help you too. If you're going through a hard time, or if you've been through a hard time, I'm sure you will be able to relate to this. And so I want to leave you with these thoughts. Number 1, God is always with us. We may not feel like He's with us, but that's just a feeling. But God is loyal. He is faithful to us. No matter what we're going through, He is with us. If we truly do believe in Him and love Him, if we truly belong to Him, He is with us. And also, number 2, God uses various ways of helping us. I've given you examples from my life of how I feel God brought me through that hard time into a much better place. And it was a gradual process, and he was using various methods, right? Things don't often go bam from dark to light, even though maybe they can. But I've noticed that for me and for other people too, it often tends to be a more gradual process, like walking little by little out of the valley. And as I've been gradually coming out of the valley, God has been using different things to help me. And I can look at these things and say, oh, that was God's hand. That was an answer to prayer. And it's amazing. Other people have gone through darker valleys. I mean, I've shared a little bit about what I've been through, though I haven't given you a lot of detail. And some of you might be thinking, I've been through way worse than that. What is she complaining about? And I realize that there are even worse things. Yes. I'm not trying to compare what I've been through with some of these other much worse things. I recognize that other people have gone through darker valleys, and even I might be led through darker valleys in the future. Not that I want to, but I understand that things happen. But this is how I have been led by God through this particular dark valley. And I just want to share that with you and give the glory to God, that he is faithful and he answers prayers and he's with us, even though we might not feel like it. He's with us. And I've also realized that this is point number 4, that I am weak, that I am frail, I'm vulnerable, I'm sometimes silly and foolish. I'm fearful, I'm lacking understanding and wisdom sometimes. Sometimes I feel trapped, discouraged, helpless, useless, etc. But he is strong. The Bible says that when we are weak, he is strong. We don't have to be strong on our own. We're allowed to be weak, you guys. We're allowed to be weak. But we look to him for the strength. We look to him who is our strength. We look to him to guide us. We put our hand out and hold his hand. Actually, he's holding our hand the whole time. Sometimes we just don't realize it. We squeeze his hand harder. And we say, God, Father, Dad, I trust you to get me through this. Guide me where you want me to go. And he is always faithful and he does it. So I want to give the glory to him. And I also want to say to you guys, there are exciting new things coming up for this channel. And I'm still busy. I still have a lot of demands on my time. I can't make really super edited videos or videos that even are edited at all. This is a little bit of a longer video. I'm hoping that some of my future videos will be a little bit shorter than this. But I feel like I just have to share this with you. And kind of like I said earlier at the beginning of the video, I need to give a bridge from everything that came before to the new stuff that's coming up next. Stay tuned and you'll see what kind of stuff I'm talking about in future videos. Bye.